This review's on the movie Hideout. I'm the anger guy. I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm not a fan of independent horror films, but I do watch my share of them with skepticism. When an indie horror film turns out to be good, I feel I found a true treasure. Maybe a great upcoming director and possibly the next movie stars that will be walking down the red carpet. When watching indie horror films, I look for a director using their imagination for the lack of funds, okay to good acting, a great performance from any one actor that could push the film over the top, a new storyline that is original and that is justified for an ending in blood, gore, absolute mayhem, and last but not least, a few legitimate jump scares. One thing that totally pisses me off of any film is when the director is lazy and treats the audience like dumbasses. The film Hideout is about a botched robbery by incompetent thieves that each had a personal reason for doing so. The foursome ended up in a house that was occupied by a grandma and a young woman that were more devious than the small-time bandits. To review this film, I will talk about the storyline, the strange, the good, bad, and the ugly. But let's switch up the sequence by making a comment on the storyline first. Then let's talk about the strangeness. Of course, have to mention the ugly, which means treating the audience like they're not paying attention to the movie at all. Then the fun part, the good countering the bad. About the storyline, realize everyone was slowly getting possessed while staying in the house. Great excuse for people doing stupid stuff, which is normal for horror films. Next, the strangeness of the film. There was no window blinds in the house. Looked like an empty rental house filled with cheap furniture, but the minus of blinds gave it an atmosphere of disevil. Number 2, what in the heck was the giant hood coming out of the middle of the ceiling for? Was it a swamp cooler on the roof? I took several aerial shots but didn't see any large metal box on top of the roof. While living in Utah, our swamp cooler was in our kitchen window mounted just like a normal air conditioning unit. Another example, we house sat for a couple back east and they had no air conditioning at all. They told us to turn a certain switch on at night to bring the cool air in from the outside into the house from a giant vent into the ceiling, which was the middle of the hallway. Still talking about strangeness. Number 3, first you have an attitude you want to watch a horror film, or you think you're going to give smoking a try. Just like when starting to watch the movie Hideout, it's a cough city, just like your first cigarette. By still having that, I'll give it a try attitude. You have your second cigarette and you will continue watching the movie Hideout just to see how it ends. Now the ugly. Read, Chris Wolf told Cal Brian Enright to put dead Grandma B, Janice LaFlame, in the garage. There wasn't a garage around, just another house. Number 2, when Cal dragged Grandma in the empty house, it looked like dead Grandma's knees bent the opposite way they should have. Number 3, shooting someone in the middle of the field near a road in broad daylight is just stupid, even for a slightly possessed person. Now, the fun part, the good counters the bad. The good, leaving the television on static was a good eerie effect. The bad, at times the actors' voices bounced off the walls in the house. The good, number 2, script was okay, could have been meatier and more info on the possessed young woman, like how it happened or when did it occur, how she acquired the powers, the grandma or the devil teacher. The bad, claimed it was a closet, but the camera was behind Grandma B and Rose and it was pointed outside the dark closet, but on the right you could see a handrail slanting down, which means it was really a stairway to the basement. The good, perfect location to create an independent film. The bad, a visiting cop to tell Rose and Grandma B there was a robbery with armed and dangerous people who got away in a car. The cop should have looked under the tarped car before knocking on Grandma B and Rose's front door. Why didn't he? The good, there was not an overuse of blood splatters about. Some independent filmmakers go overboard on the blood, just like young bands starting out. The music is always too loud and you just can't hear the lead singer. The bad, I don't care how desperate you are, you never turn off the main road and keep driving when the dirt road turns into a grassy trail. You crazy? Haven't you ever lived out in the country? The good, most special effects were off the charts. Only thing I can complain about is the broken bones breaking through the skin. A broken bone sticking out of the skin is not rounded, Believe me, I've broken both my arms at 2 different times. Broke my right arm running down a hill and fell off a 15-foot cliff. At that time, broke both bones near the wrist and one bone stuck out. My arm was deformed near the wrist and jagged sharp edge of a bone was sticking through my skin. That memory you don't forget. When my dad picked me up and carried me to the car, the first thing I said was, "I will never be able to throw a baseball straight again." He told me, "Don't worry. You'll be able to throw a hell of a curveball." No, I'm just kidding. My dad didn't say that. My mother tried to keep me awake while going to the hospital. I remember that. The bad. At times, the monologue just dragged on between 2 people, especially in the second act, just like the number 5 good description that was before this one. The good. Actor Reed did an outstanding performance, and I'd like to give shout-outs to Katie Lyons, who portrayed Sarah, the sister of Kyle, and Eric Francis, who shortly portrayed Rick. The bad. The 2 license plates we seen in the movie, the robber's POS and the rich guy's black SUV's license, was covered in black. What the pickles? The good. Don't fret, indie horror fans. The ending of the movie, Hideout, was left open for a sequel. Hideout 2. All right. I can hardly wait. Out of an alphabetic score, I give the film Hideout a C-. Would I personally recommend to watch this film? But true indie horror fans maybe should take a look. I'm serious about that. Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate you viewing and value your comments. Thank you. Thanks.